Hi, I'm Rick Gray, Professor of Leadership and Christian Ministries, and I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about one of my great heroes during this Black History Month. His name was Harry Hoosier. I remember the first time I walked in the administrative building on the main campus, and in the lobby was this bust of a black man. And I asked, "Who's that?" It took a little while before somebody finally was able to tell me, "That's Harry Hoosier." And it dawned on me that even though I've done a lot of study in Black history, I'd never heard of a Harry Hoosier. So I want to share with you some of what I've learned. History has called him Old Black Harry. No one is sure exactly when he was born, although it's believed that he was born a slave around 1750 in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Physically, Harry was described as small in stature and coal black, an African's African. But his eyes, they say, betrayed a brilliancy and a keenness. And we know that by 1781, he was a free man. Some think that he rendered some service to the revolutionary cause on the side of the revolutionaries, the patriots, and was given his freedom. It's said of, even though Harry was illiterate, he couldn't read, he couldn't write, it's said that he had a very quick mind and a very retentive memory. He also had an eloquence with the way that he spoke and commanded the English language. One person described his voice as musical, and they owed it to some of the black preaching tradition that has evolved. In 1784, along with Richard Allen, who was the founder of the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church, Harry Hoosier was invited to attend the Christmas conference that established American Methodism. He and Richard Allen both attended as non-voting members, but they were the first African Americans to be a part of that fellowship. In that same year, 1784, Freeborn Garretson reports that Harry preached at a meeting house of more than 1,000 people. Harry was the first Methodist preacher, black or white, to be commented upon in a New York newspaper. And his most famous sermon, called Barren Fig Tree, is said to be the first to be preached by a black in America. Harry is also said to be the first black to preach to a white congregation. After hearing Harry speak, Benjamin Rush, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, identified Harry as one of the greatest preachers in America, one of the greatest orators that he had heard. Bishop Thomas Coke believed that Harry was the greatest preacher in the world after hearing him, and he also described him as the most humble creature he ever saw. One writer identified Harry Hoosier as the Billy Graham of his era. Harry's preaching was so eloquent that it often outshadowed those with whom he traveled. And when I say that he traveled, he drove the carriage for Francis Asbury. He also drove the carriage for Thomas Coke. There's a famous painting that I remember seeing once, and it's Francis Asbury sitting out at a campfire, warming himself, and in the background you can make out a black man taking care of the horse. I've always pictured Harry Hoosier embodying the Methodist disciplines in such a way that his eloquence in speaking and his humility and the fact that he was a black ex-slave who couldn't read or write, they all came together in such a way that they made Harry a truly unique individual for the kingdom of God. African Zor Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia is said to be the oldest continuing black congregation in the United States, among United Methodist churches, and Harry is credited as being its founder. Later in life, it's said that Harry became a wino, picking rags, going through trash and garbage, looking for rags to sell in the streets of Philadelphia in order to get a few coins to buy wine. He was down and out and destitute, broken. It's suggested that as he pastored Zor, African Methodist Episcopal Church, that he would do communion, and with the communion, he would partake of the wine, and ultimately became, intoxicated and became a wino in the streets of Philadelphia. Harry was aware of this, though, and he was very much a man of God, because history also records that one evening Harry found himself beneath an oak tree, and he stayed beneath this oak tree, broken and praying David's prayer, Psalms 51, his prayer of contrition. And it's said that Harry stayed there and prayed this prayer over and over and over and over, and he would not leave until he had been released from the burden of this alcohol. It's said that after that he went back to his ministry of preaching. And in 1806, Harry died and was carried to his grave by a large mixed multitude of black and white people buried in Philadelphia. And it's said that as they eulogized him at his gravesite, no longer was he dubbed Old Black Harry, but he was called the African Wonder.